Chosen one. You did not find this message. This message was sent to find you. There are a million different ways that your attention could have gone today. Something got in the way of your plans and brought you here right now. That's not how chance would act. That's what a God would do if he saw how far away you are from becoming the person he made you to be and said not another day. He said that, but not in a way that was disappointing or accusatory. Instead, it was with a sense of something much more important. The tone of a father who has been watching something happen to you without you knowing and has decided that it will stop today because you haven't been failing. You have been pushed down. Chosen one. There is a difference that can change your life. Once you know it, everything changes. There is a difference, and the reason for it has a name. It's not a spiritual platitude. It's a real documented reason that explains all the work that was done every year but didn't pay off. Every time you put your faith into something that didn't seem to work, you woke up to find that the gap was the same size. Drop everything. God said, they have been waiting for this answer. You're here because someone told you to be here. Chosen one. This is both an emergency and an answer. Stay with me. Find a quiet place if you can to block out the noise. If there is noise, give this the space it needs. Not because the words are hard to understand, but because they will name something that has been going on in your life for a long time. Giving it a name along with the real cause is the start of everything that changes after today. There are people who hear this message and don't feel anything. Then there are people like you. The ones who have been carrying a weight they can't fully explain to someone who hasn't been there. That group of people who have been giving everything they have without getting anywhere near where that level of giving should have taken them. People who have looked at their own lives and felt that no matter how much faith they have or how hard they work, there is a quiet question that will never go away. Why is the gap still this big is the question after everything. Why is the distance between where I am now and where I was meant to be still the same? This message is for the person who asked you that question. It's possible that years of explaining it away have made it harder for you to feel how specific and real it really is. Let me name what the gap feels like. You've been taking care of it. You've been getting around it. You've been giving it spiritual contexts, seasonal explanations, and changes to the way you do things. And none of that has changed the shape of it at its core. That's why I'm going to name it clearly and without any quick comfort. Your life has a ceiling that you can't see what caused it. A ceiling that you can't show or talk about when someone asks. A ceiling that doesn't show up when you're failing, but right when things start to get better. You start to move forward when something stops you. As you gain speed, something breaks the structure before it can stay together. When you believe in a breakthrough, it doesn't happen right away. Not twice, but over and over again. It happens at the same exact time every time. So it stops feeling like luck and starts feeling like architecture, like something is meant to catch you before you get there. Like there is a ceiling that moves with you. That ceiling doesn't show that you don't have enough faith. It doesn't show that you have bad character. It's being caused by a certain thing. You will know what that something is today. Your life makes you tired in a way that doesn't match your rest. Not physically worn out in the way that a good night's sleep makes you feel better. Something more. The kind of bone-deep tiredness that you feel in the morning, even after a full night's sleep. The kind that happens when you put a lot of energy into something and end up with a lot less than you should have at the end. The kind of tired that comes from not doing enough, but from a system that isn't doing nearly what it was made to do. A machine that makes work through resistance instead of the smooth synchronized output. It was made for that. Being tired is not a sign of weakness. Chosen one. Not having faith is not a sign. That's proof. Proof that for a very long time, a system has been working against itself, requiring twice as much work for a quarter of the benefit. There is a time in your life when your investment never seems to match up. You believed at a level that should have led you to a different life than the one you are living. Of course, you know that you have prayed longer than most people. You've held on during times when it would have been smart to let go based on the facts. There are times when things don't work out the way they should for someone with your level of commitment. Though there is something that opens and then shuts before you walk through it, before it locks into place. Something lines up and then moves. One of the most confusing things you've had to deal with is the difference between how much faith you put in and how much you saw in return. There's no clear reason for it, and the reasons you've been given haven't helped. You have a knowing that always goes beyond what you are getting to. You can feel things before they happen. You see answers where others are still thinking of questions. There are things you understand about situations that go beyond what you were taught before. This isn't being proud. You trust this pattern recognition even when no one else does. However, knowing has not yet led to arriving. The insight comes to you. But between the moment of clarity and the moment of action, something takes in its energy, something breaks up. What the knowing was trying to make before it can grow into a life. That gap between what you think and what you make real, between what you understand and what you build, is one of the worst things a chosen one has to deal with. Not because it means you failed, but because it means there is a gap between what you were designed to make and what you have access to. Pick it. There is a word for the spot where knowing lives before it can become arriving. You need to use both sides of your mind to get something done from an insight. The knowing stays where it is, locked, fully present, fully real and fully inaccessible as a force that can build something in the visible world. When that cooperation is broken, what you know has been carried by you. You have not had full access to the bridge that turns what you know into what you become. The morning question comes next. The one who comes before the day has asked you to do something. Not all the time in words. There are times when you only feel a low-level awareness that something important is missing in the quiet before the demands start. The person you are now is different from the person you were meant to be this season. In spite of doing everything you could, you have been working hard toward that version and still haven't closed the gap, and you don't understand why. All of these are real ones that were chosen. All of them. Not your imagination, not your lack of faith, and not your character weakness. Those are signs. Signs of something specific that has been going on in your life at a level that you can't reach with your hard work, faith, prayer, or discipline. That thing has a name. But before I tell you what it is, I need to talk about the explanations you've been given and the ones you've given yourself. Snorts, most of them aren't complete. And an explanation that isn't complete is almost as bad as none at all, because it leads you to work in the wrong direction for years. And years. Under all of your work, the real cause is sitting quietly untouched. You are focusing on the wrong thing. People have told you that it's your time, that this is a time of wilderness, a time of secret preparation, and that God is shaping you in a place that you can't see. The harvest will come when the shaping is done and you are chosen. I don't want to take away what is true about that frame, because wilderness seasons and preparation are real things. But the wilderness was never meant to be a permanent place to live. By its very nature, a season of formation is short-lived. It has an arc. It starts with an end in mind. And if the reason was just the season, something would have changed by now. At least once the pattern would have been broken in at least one place. The ceiling would have come up. The timing should have been right for the investment in at least one long-term way, but it hasn't been. The wilderness explanation is correct. But it's not all there is to it. That part of the explanation that is missing is where the real answer is. People have told you that if you prayed more, fasted longer, got up earlier, studied harder, and believed more consistently and precisely, the results would finally start to match. That's why you tried. You put the disciplines in there. Before I did, you got up. It was a fast. You set up the structures, habits, and routines. The gap did not close. So, you told yourself you weren't tough enough yet. So, you got even tougher. But the gap stayed as all of that hard work added up. The message that your discipline isn't good enough became one of the worst things that happened to you because it made you work harder on a system that wasn't the problem in the first place. While the real problem sat there unaffected below all the discipline you were putting into it. People have told you that the ones who drain you are the people around you, the city you live in, and the relationships you have. So you changed some of those things. It was you who set limits. You kept your energy safe. You got better. The ceiling stayed the same height. And you started to wonder if the problem was something inside you, something you carry around with you, something that stays the same no matter what happens outside. Picked one. None of those answers give you the whole picture. It's real, but the season isn't finished yet. As the main cause, the discipline framing is wrong. The observation about the environment is only partly true and has never carried the full weight of truth. They are all wrong. But the real reason is simpler, older, and different. Once you understand it, it makes sense of all the symptoms. You lost something that wasn't taken from you last season or this year. It happened slowly and methodically, starting from the very beginning of your life at such a basic level that most people don't even know it happened. But its absence has been affecting every ceiling, every missed deadline, every mismatch between effort and output, and every morning question for as long as you've been looking for an answer. Take a moment to hold something before I show you what was taken. It can be brought back. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site. You are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose. Join the conversation and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today. Join our community and see what God brings back into your life. Some neuroscientists led by a doctor in New York who has studied this mechanism for 20 years have found something. When most people hear about something for the first time, they think it can't possibly do what the research says it does because it is so well thought out and easy to use. But the research that led to it goes back many years. The work that made it possible won the world's top scientific award. This group came up with a way to bring back what was lost in just 8 minutes a day. Anyone with headphones and the will to try it can do it. I'll show you what they found and where you can find it before this message ends. But put this question on hold for now. What if the gap has never fully closed, the ceiling has never explained itself, and the timing of the investment has never been right? What if it's not because of a flaw in your faith, character, or discipline? What if someone took something away from you? At the deepest level where all of your ability to think, create, build, and receive comes from. And what if the way back has been there for years, but no one told you about it? Put that question on hold. Take a moment to let it breathe in. You were literally born with something amazing in your brain. This is not a metaphor or a spiritual message. Both halves of your brain were designed to work together perfectly from the time you were born. So your mind can do everything it was meant to do. You had a way of thinking and being creative as a child that most adults have lost completely. And because this loss happens so slowly and to everyone as an adult, most people have stopped noticing what they no longer have. There is research that most people never hear about. Not in school, not in church, and not at all. The world's top scientific award was given for this work. A researcher at the California Institute of Technology named Dr. Roger Sperry spent years looking into what happens when the left and right sides of the brain work together perfectly. He won the Nobel Prize in 1981 for finding that the brain works best when it's one whole system, not two separate ones that are only running at a small part of their combined power. And this is what he found out. When the left and right sides of the brain work together, something unique happens that neither side can do on its own. Both creativity and analytical precision work hand in hand. Structured logical thinking and deep intuitive knowing work together. The speed with which you can spot patterns, the depth of your understanding, and your ability to see connections and solutions that a mind that is only partially working can't see at all. It all comes online at the same time in a way that is very different from what processing in a single hemisphere can do. Scientists use the term whole brain activation to describe this process. It is the state in which the mind works at the level it was designed to work at, not at an incredibly high level. The study also found something that is harder to accept. This level of intelligence is something that 98% of young children naturally have. Not just a few gifted kids. As the normal way that people think before the world has had a chance to change things. Less than 1 in 1,000 people still have that ability by the time the average person is an adult. Not even 1 in 1,000. Take some time to think about what that means. The power you had when you were 7 years old. The skill that let you learn faster than adults can imagine. To wonder about things that adults had stopped thinking about. To see the world with a creative sense that came from using both sides of your mind the way they were meant to work. You didn't lose that ability because you got older. It wasn't planned to get smaller at a certain point in the development process. It was stifled by educational systems that encouraged analytical thinking and discouraged creative and intuitive growth. It was also stifled by adult stress patterns that changed the brain over time to focus on survival responses instead of the coordination that is needed for whole brain activation because of years of noise, duty, stress, and hurry. Neither side of your mind could ever sit still long enough to find the other. This truth will be put into a story you may already know. In every direction, Esther looked like she was standing behind an orphan or a member of a people who were living in exile. Put in a royal family she didn't want to be in and had to work for a king who didn't know her people or her worth yet. Every sign she could see pointed to a bad situation and a life that wasn't at the level her calling called for. But the Bible tells us something about her story that changes the way we read it. It says she was placed, not moved, not left alone, and not delayed in the usual sense of the word. From the outside, the preparation that looked like a limitation was from the point of view of the person who saw the whole ark. Just what was needed for the exact moment she was being built for. What looked like the back was formed. Picked one that looked like a disadvantage was the way it was set up. Once she was placed, what seemed like a lifetime of delay ended in a way that no amount of visible effort from the outside could have caused, since the ability was already there. It had been there the whole time. It just needed the right time and place to come out. I want you to carry a Hebrew word with you. Akar is a root word that means to come after, as in the one who comes after the sequence has finished its full design. It's not a bad word. It's not language of failure or being left behind. It is a word those in order. Job's words. I know that my Redeemer lives and that after he dies he will stand on the earth came from the same root. Akar, not the word of someone who was left behind. The word of someone whose time is still coming. The person who comes is not the one who missed the sequence. The person who comes, aka, is the one that the sequence has been building up to the whole time. You have been chosen, and the steps that have been taking place to make you arrive have not yet been completed. Please stay with me for one more truth before I show you how to get back to what was taken. Something about what's going to happen next. I'm about to show you the clearest answer to the most important question you've ever had. There isn't another reason why you might still be waiting. Not another reason to keep going through the season. The real mechanism that's hidden behind the ceiling, the exact name of what was stolen and the way to get it back. And this is the part that most people who feel the same way you do will never get to because they leave before it gets there. Don't be one of them. The answer is what comes next. Before I tell you about the path, let me be clear for a moment. You've been listening for a long time. So you're used to the pattern, the ceiling that doesn't make sense, the timing that never matched the investment, the bone-deep tiredness, the knowing that comes before it arrives. And the morning question and the cause was named as the full brain power you were born with. When your two hemispheres worked together, they gave you a huge range of cognitive and creative abilities as a child. But since you were young, they have only been working at a small fraction of their full potential. It's not because you let it happen or failed to protect it. It's because the world you grew up in slowly and completely stifled it until less than 1 in 1,000 adults still have what every child was born with. That's the reason. What is this then? A neuroscientist in New York City named Dr. Daniel Barron built on the Nobel Prize-winning work of Dr. Roger Sperry for many years to create what his team calls neural synchronization, an 8-minute sound sequence that was carefully designed to send the exact signal that both sides of your brain need to reconnect. It's not a brainwave track. It's not an app for meditation. It's not a device that needs to be supervised by a doctor or costs a lot of money. It's been 8 minutes with headphones on and eyes closed. You are the chosen one who was born with this ability but had it stifled without your knowledge or permission. Your brain has been waiting for this signal since the day your childhood genius started to fade. You have spent years trying to find a life that was made for a mind working at full power. Today, it's possible to get back to that power. Let me tell you about a woman from Manhattan who thought the Holto family had always thought that they were somehow less fortunate because of their family history. Something that her grandfather had built was lost. After 22 years of giving his all to a company, her dad was fired the week after he was promoted. It had worked the same way for her, too. A lot of people she knew had worked less hard than she had. She said a prayer. She had thought. The ceiling stayed in place. She liked the work of the team led by Dr. Barron and promised to work on the 8-minute sequence for 2 weeks, but she wasn't sure if she could do it. After the fact, she told me that by the end of the first week, something had changed. She wasn't sure how to explain it, but she also couldn't say she wasn't sure. By the end of the second week, she got a promotion that twice she had been turned down for. She felt clear again. In a way, she hadn't since she was a child. The pattern is gone, she told me. Not a real curse, but a pattern, a ceiling, or a gap that was passed down. It shut down not because her situation changed first, but because a capacity that had been blocked for years was finally allowed to work again, which changed every ceiling above it. In the Nobel Prize study, it was shown that this was possible, and the work that the Dr. Barron did makes it possible. Dr. Roger Sperry used controlled studies to show what whole brain activation looks like and how it happens. His work showed that 98% of children naturally work at that level. But less than 1% of adults do. This shows that losing that level is not a natural part of getting older. The environment makes it happen. The work that Dr. Barron added to that research directly looks at the mechanism of resynchronization. That's not through years of daily practice or 300-hour clinical sessions. That's only through a specific 8-minute sound sequence that does one thing. It sends the message to both sides of your brain that they need to connect. You may have tried sound-based methods before and found that they didn't work. I get it. Dr. Barron says it himself. Snorts, most of those methods are aimed at a completely different mechanism. They talk about just one hemisphere and call it brain enhancement. But for the whole effect to happen, both sides must be in sync and working together, not just one side being stimulated. That's what makes it different. And it's the difference between working on the wrong mechanism for years and finally getting to the right one. The smart switch is what they call it. 8 minutes with headphones on and eyes closed. There is no technique to learn, no affirmation to say over and over, and no visualization to keep up. You pay attention. It also does what the Nobel Prize-winning research showed was possible. It tells your brain what it needs to know. His coworker said that this tool would be a great deal even at $500. Neurofeedback sessions that happen in person cost $300 an hour. Neurofeedback equipment for home use costs at least $7,000. Dr. Barron didn't set the price at $500, $200, or even $100. He sold it for $49, which was more than 40% less than what his coworkers thought it was worth. You can claim it today on his team's direct page for $39 since you've made it this far. You get a guided visualization from a top-rated creator about money, love, health, and happiness as a free bonus when you pay 39 times for the product. This grocery list shows you 10 common foods that make your brain fog worse and can save you over $100 a month at big stores. A classic book on manifestation that is more than 100 years old and the source of most modern manifestation practices. Get this 20 Daily book on Amazon for free when you finish your order, and an infographic you can print out of the 5 most important daily habits that will help you build your future. All of it comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. Take a listen 80 times. Listen to it. If it doesn't make a difference in your life, your money is returned. There is no doubt, and there are no exceptions. One thing I want to make clear is that you can find tracks online if you search for anything that sounds like Genius Switch or Whole Brain Audio. What they found was looked into by the group led by Dr. Barron. There was no neural synchronization technology at all in most of those tracks. Those words were used to make them stand out and bring in money. The actual sequence, the one based on Nobel Prize winning research and built with proven neural synchronization technology, can only be seen on the Team Direct page. The link is in the comment that was pinned and in the copy below. That's where the real work takes place. The path is there. If you want to see what 8 minutes a day for 2 weeks does to the ceiling you've been living under, there isn't any gear other than headphones, pills, or a technique to learn. With your eyes closed for just 8 minutes, your brain will get the signal it's been waiting for. There is a link in both the description and the comment that was pinned. It's up to you and God what you do with that. I want to leave all of that. Now there is something I want to talk about that has nothing to do with any research, any path, or any practical choice. I want to talk about what you've been carrying right now. It wasn't too far behind chosen one. That's exactly how the word was used when God said, "Reach them today, because the gap between who they are and who I designed them to be is wider than they know. And it won't take as long as it seems to get to the life that was made for them. You are behind on the calling that was given to you before you were born. This version of yourself is behind because they have been waiting for the ability to come back online for longer than they should have had to. Behind in the life that a mind with all of its parts was meant to build. I want you to feel something now. Not a hurry. There was no shame or a need to hurry. There was only the truth that none of it was your fault. You didn't fail because of the ceiling chosen one. Years of hard work that didn't yield the results they should have weren't proof of not having enough faith. Being really tired wasn't a sign of weakness. The morning question didn't tell you that something was wrong with you. It was keeping track of how far away you were from being the person you were meant to be. That space is real, but there's a reason for it. And the cause was given to you by a world that wasn't meant to protect your most important characteristic and in some ways actively worked against it. God saw it happen not from afar or without attachment. He kept an eye on every closed door and every season of work that didn't show any results. There were many acts of faith that didn't seem to go anywhere. When there was nothing in the world that made you think that reaching would change anything, you chose to get up every morning and do it again. He recorded and watched everything. Not of the times you failed, chosen one, not of the limits of your loyalty, but of the unique weight of what you were carrying and the unwavering determination with which you did so without realizing what was missing. And I can hear the Spirit telling you this right now. It's clear and there are no conditions. I've never looked back at your life and seen someone else. When I looked at your life, I saw someone who was ready. I used every season that looked like it would be late from the outside. Every door I shut was a door. I shut the door not as a punishment, but because the new door needed the exact version of you that was formed over the years that seemed like they were wasted from every angle. You're not behind. You've never been behind. You're turning into the person I always knew you were. I'll tell you who you are. You have been chosen to be a phoenix in the full truth of the metaphor, not in a toned-down version of it. A phoenix doesn't make it through the fire. Inside it, a phoenix changes. Things that go into the fire don't come out of it. What comes out is not the same thing that went in but rebuilt. It's something completely different. Something that was always inside the first but couldn't fully form until the fire was done. You've been through the fire of these years, the years of the ceiling, the years of the morning question, and the years of work that didn't seem to pay off. And what you're becoming now from those years is not a delayed version of who you were meant to be. Being that way is the only way that the experience you've had could have made you who you are now. And that version was the one that was meant to be sent to the next season. Breaking cycles is what you do. You are the one person in your family tree whose knowledge breaks the pattern that was passed down. Every generation before you carried the weight of the oppression, the ceiling, the missed deadlines, the morning questions and being tired without having the words or answers to describe it. They then passed it on to the next generation without realizing they were doing it. You are the one who got the answer. What people who come after you start with changes because of you in a spiritual and emotional way as well. What you fix in your mind shapes everything that comes from it, and what you fix in yourself becomes the foundation that the next generation builds on. That's not a small thing picked one. Something that has been going on for a long time has come to an end. Not because of how loud you are, but because of what you carry. People around you live with something that they can't name. You know how they feel. Like them, you've been where they are going. That language is about to become clear, real, and written down. It's not possible to understand the gap by looking at it from a safe distance. You have to be in it, be dangerously behind, and then figure out what made you dangerous. A generation of people who are also behind schedule have been waiting for someone to speak their language. In that chosen testimony, you don't have to say sorry for the gap anymore. You don't have to keep going on about the years that look like delays. Stop feeling bad about being late because you got there on time. You can look back at the fires from the past few years and say exactly what they were. Not punishment or proof that you're not good enough, but preparation. Getting ready for what's coming next. You can receive today in full without having to work for it again. The truth is that the gap was never a verdict on your worth or a sign that the calling wasn't real. You don't have to carry the weight of every year anymore. The ceiling stayed in place. No matter what comes next, you can do it without dragging everything that should have come before it behind you. You are now free to start. A man had worked in a field for 11 years. He was truly and firmly convinced that he was called to 11 years of dedicated and consistent work, watching others around him get praise for work that he knew he had done better, putting in his best effort every season, only to see it yield much less than the effort demanded. His faith-based morning routine was beginning to feel empty around the edges. That wasn't because he had stopped believing or because the calling had left him, but because his faith wasn't leading him to the life he was working toward. He found the work of the group that Dr. Barron was in charge of. He promised to work on the 8-minute sequence for 2 weeks. But he had both doubts and hopes. He told me later that the shift didn't happen all of a sudden. It slowly came back to him as clarity that had been missing for so long that he had forgotten what it was like to think that quickly with that level of alertness and that connection between thoughts that he remembered from 20 years ago. He had been quietly grieving the slow loss of G without ever realizing that it was a loss. His work had reached more people than it had in 10 years by the 3rd week. Not because he changed his plan or because his circumstances changed first, but because everything he had been building was back to the level it was meant to be at. He told me something that I'd like to share with you. For 11 years, I thought the issue lay somewhere in the world. It took me 2 weeks to figure out that it was in this room. And I hear one more thing from the dad. Something I want to give you with the same care. It was given to me. He told her, what I have planned for you is a specific one I chose, not a vague future that could be good. It's not a general abundance that doesn't have a place. It's something specific that has been named, placed, and is ready to go. It's not because it moved that you haven't reached it yet. You haven't been able to reach for it because your mind hasn't been working at its full potential. The world has been trying to hide what you were born with since the years when your brain's two halves were partially cut off from each other. That's going to change today. Take a moment to breathe. The breath of someone who just heard the truth about the last few years and is letting it settle into something solid. Not rushing to act. Just taking a deep breath and letting the landing happen. Don't say what was said. Let what was said land on one. The truth about what was said. The truth is that the years did not go to waste. The truth was that the ceiling wasn't a decision. It's true that the gap was never the last word. The fact that you were carrying something special in a system that was only partially working shows that you were chosen for this. You can't faithfully carry out a calling for 40 years at a small fraction of the level it was meant to work at without being seen to be faithful. In the hidden place, God sees everything that goes on. He saw everything that took place in yours. What was taken from you was real. It was a real ceiling. There really was a gap. The question in the morning was real. Everything you've been going through was just the outward sign of a real problem whose name has now been given. It wasn't made up at all. None of it was a lack of faith. All of that showed that a mind wasn't working at full capacity in the body of a person who was picked for a job that needed that mind to work at full capacity. What is being fixed up is real too. The study is real. The 8-minute scene is real. The path is real. And the calling that has been waiting for you to join the chosen few is real and hasn't changed. It was there before you were born. It has made it through every season of being behind. It has been there longer than every ceiling and reset. It was there first thing in the morning. When the question was the loudest, it's still there, waiting for the whole brain version of you. Not for a version that is easier to deal with. One that has fewer questions. Scars and the weight of having been behind, but one that has them all. Person who comes out of the fire and says, I know what was missing and I have it back. God saw you when you were 7 years old. He saw what you could do in those early years before the world got going. He has seen it over and over again. Don't go through any year of the gap, any morning question, any ceiling, or any season where the work stopped before it could become a life. He never saw the time between when you were 7 years old and now as a sign of your failure, lack, or unworthiness. He always had a way to keep track of how much was taken and how much is finally ready to be given back today. You came here because someone told you this message was meant for you. That something wasn't a fluke. That something was true. For the same reason that has been there in every season, you chose to keep going. Every morning, you chose to start over. Even though there was nothing that seemed to make you want to, you got here because of your faithfulness in every quiet prayer. You said when you were tired but still had enough faith to be written down. You now have the answer. The link is in the comment that was pinned, and in the copy below you can find the work of the team Dr. Barron leads there. That's where the 8-minute scene lives. That's the start of the way back what was taken from you. Do not be fooled by how quiet this moment is. It is very important. You're not supposed to be here. And the choice you make in the next few minutes could be the most important small choice you've made in a long time. You didn't get these years so that they would make you less important. You were put in them so that they could make you better. Anyone who has ever been on the verge of living the life they were meant to have spent years before that point doing things that didn't make sense from the outside. Years that seemed to be behind us. Years that required more faith than anyone could see being spent from the outside. You've spent those years. You've stuck with it, and now the stage is set. The link is also in the comment that was pinned below. Choose one. Go there. Know this as you go. We close the gap. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself. Jesus says this is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment. A place where divine abundance is not just a hope but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer war, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community. Does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary where we discuss the Word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says give and heaven will open over you on this platform. Every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall. Share your heart. And as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now.